What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles in the Open Great League running the latest new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Wugtrio, alongside both Kanto Dugtrio and Shadow Alolan Dugtrio. Now unfortunately you can't run all three at the same time, as Alolan Dugtrio is just a regional variant of Dugtrio, but Wugtrio is actually its own thing, so I did some battles first with Kanto Dugtrio and then Alolan Dugtrio. And I'm running Giratina in the lead because it's a Pokemon that has a lot of neutral matchups in the current meta, and since Dugtrio and Wugtrio both have very different weaknesses, there's a lot you need to cover for in the lead. Now if you're wondering how to obtain this Pokemon, it evolves from Wiglet, which can only be caught in beach biomes, so that typically will be in coastal areas, but if you don't live anywhere near the coast, like me who lives in Greater London, beach biomes can also exist around other bodies of water, like rivers. So for example, Wiglet does spawn near the Thames, but I caught my Wiglet around a local Lido. Now a word of advice, if you are going out of your way to try and catch a Wiglet, especially if you don't live near an actual beach, if you don't see that silhouette on your nearby immediately as you enter the beach biome, just use an incense or put down some lures, because I can tell you firsthand, relying on wild spawns isn't fun. Yesterday I went out for over 3 hours waiting for a Wiglet to pop up on my nearby, and it never did, so eventually after putting down 8 lures and using my incense for an hour, I finally got one to spawn, but it was too big to fit into the Great League, and my phone ended up dying before I was able to catch another one, so I had to go back out later in the evening for another 2 hours before finally getting another one to pop up on my incense. But I didn't see a single one in the wild in the 5 hours that I was around my Lido, so obviously not ideal. Also, if you don't have any beach biomes near you, don't worry, because this Pokemon is absolutely awful anyways. It's more attack weighted than even a Haxorus for the Great League, but with obviously a much worse moveset, although you guys know I love to run nonsense Pokemon which aren't very good, so that's why I went to such lengths to get this one to showcase. But anyways, with all of that being said, let's finally get into the question of the day. What are your thoughts on Niantic releasing Pokemon that only spawn in specific biomes, and how does that compare to what Niantic typically does, which is releasing new Pokemon exclusively through eggs or raids? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's finally get into the battles now. Alright, so heading into the first battle in Giratina into Gligar. So this is a neutral matchup for us. Of course, Shadow Ball gonna hit like a truck. I'm actually running Dragon Pulse here because I found that there are a lot of Mandibuzz and a lot of Pokemon that Giratina just really couldn't do anything against. And of course, I don't really have any answers to normal or dark type Pokemon in the back. We go for the Shadow Ball, grabbing a shield from the opponent. At this point, I'm also going to shield, as I know I can at least grab both shields from the opponent or probably get the KO from this range with Shadow Ball number 2. So I send the Shadow Ball number 2, grabbing the shield. The opponent is going to shield that up there and then swap into Registeel, so I'm actually going to bank a Shadow Ball, then swapping into my Shadow Alolan Dugtrio. I'm definitely going to respect the damage from a Focus Blast. The opponent full sends a Focus Blast, not baiting with the Zap Cannon. I'm now going to farm to 100 energy, go for a Mud Bomb. I'm actually going to undercharge this, hoping I could get a Sand Attack farm down and come out with an Iron Head loaded, but unfortunately not enough of an undercharge. The opponent can go for the dig, taking out the Dugtrio, but we can come in with our Wugtrio eventually, waiting out a Switch Lock as long as possible, and I'm going to be able to go for a full Water Gun farm down, which is huge as the opponent has a Lantern in the back. Now Wugtrio does have Dig for coverage, Dig gonna hit for huge super effective damage. The opponent gets the full farm down, but this is the safe play as Giratina can come in, win CMP, going for the Shadow Ball, taking out the Lantern, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. If I try to swap into my Giratina, we do of course run the risk of the Spark just taking out the Giratina before we even register with that Charge Reef there, so that's why I played it like that. But anyways, into the next battle, gonna say swap into the Dugtrio, and unfortunately met with Annihilate, but Shadow Alolan Dugtrio hits so hard that we actually grab a shield from the Annihilate. Gonna come in with the Giratina, and the opponent makes quite a significant mistake in my opinion, not even farming to a potential Shadow Ball. It might be that they're not running it there, but of course I know I can live a Night Slash. It's not gonna do too much damage. I'm now going to shield the next Night Slash, hoping for a full Shadow Claw farm down, but I recognize I'm not quite going to get there in time, so I end up going for the Shadow Ball. Of course, not running Ominous Wind there, so I couldn't really bait. We're now going to swap into Wugtrio, and the opponent responds with Skarmory, not really even waiting to see what came in there, and this is actually really nice for us, as we are resisting the Steel Wings, although you wouldn't really know it based on how much damage we've already taken. At this point, after landing a Surf, I can just safely shield that up, go for the Water Gun farm down, and here I need to make it to a Dig before they get the Dragon Breath farm down. Hopefully the opponent does just no-shield this, and they don't respect the damage. It nearly KOs. We come in with Giratina. We need to live this. We do resist the typical moves there, and the opponent makes a huge mistake going for the double resisted body slam instead of the single resisted Aqua Tail, and somehow Giratina able to get the Shadow Claw farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see a Bastiodon in the lead. Now, honestly, fully expecting there to be a Shadow Victreebel in the back, which this isn't really the issue. The issue is if the opponent is running Wigglytuff as that third Pokemon, because now, of course, Giratina gets completely destroyed by Wigglytuff, but I kind of needed to bait out the Victreebel anyway, so not really a lot I could have done to prevent that if they are running Wigglytuff. But either way, we're going to go for the Shadow Ball, taking out the Victreebel, and they come back in with Bastiodon, so hopefully this does mean they aren't running Wigglytuff in the back. We're going to shield out the Stone Edge here. I'm now going to overfarm just slightly with the Giratina, going for another Shadow Ball, and if the opponent lets this go through, I will be swapping straight away into my Wugtrio, and the opponent is actually running Annihilate instead. I'm able to make it to a Surf on the CMP tie. Wugtrio easily winning CMP, grabbing the final shield as well from the opponent. So this is very nice. The opponent gonna go for a Night Slash. Night Slash actually doesn't get the KO though, which is not great for me, because now I don't think I'm gonna be able to go for a full Shadow Claw farm down once again. Gonna shield up the Night Slash here. Can we get the farm down in time? We are barely not gonna get there once again, so I have to go for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will get the KO, but since I'm not running Ominous Wind, the opponent is able to outpace me to the next charge route, and of course from this range Stone Edge will be taking out the Giratina, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Azumarill in the lead. So this is a fairly decent matchup for us, of course. The bubble's going to hit for resisted damage. The opponent actually doesn't even farm to a Play Rough. Now, I do know I can live an Ice Beam. It's not super comfortable, but they're not going to be able to bubble farm me down, at least before I make it to 2 Shadow Balls here. So we go for the first one there. The opponent no-shields the first move. Going to go for a second Shadow Ball, and once again, unfortunately, not running Ominous Wind, so we can't bait here. But either way, Ominous Wind probably wouldn't have got the KO there. And we go for a third Shadow Ball, but we just barely don't get there in time, which is very unfortunate. If I was running Ominous Wind, I could have taken out the Azumarill at that point, or grabbed both shields. But either way, gonna come in with the Wugtrio, shielding up an Ice Beam, which was very unnecessary as a bait. They then come in with a Galvantula, and then they're gonna swap into Shadow Venusaur. But this is where Shadow Alolan Dugtrio is gonna be very nice. We go straight for the Mud Bomb, grabbing that final shield, and the opponent is going to overfarm too much, allowing me to make it to Mud Bomb number 2, taking out the Shadow Venusaur. And can we make it to another Mud Bomb in time? Yes, we're able to do so, just barely. The opponent had to go for the farm down there, but Mud Bomb takes out the Galvantula. Wugtrio not really doing anything in that battle, but Shadow Alolan Dugtrio absolutely popping off, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we can see a Skarmory in the lead. So once again, a fairly neutral matchup that we will just narrowly win in the one shield scenario. I believe with the Shadow Claw damage, by the time we do make it to the second Shadow Ball, I think that will be enough to get the KO. I'm not certain though. This is the first time I'm running Giratina since I ran it in the triple rare legendary team that I ran quite a while ago, basically when Giratina was first available for the Great League. But at this point, I'm actually just going to let this go through here. I'm hoping that we can just Water Gun farm them down, but it's probably going to be... we're probably going to get outpaced, unfortunately, here. So we're going to come in with the Wugtrio, go for that Water Gun farm down, and unfortunately, they do just barely make it to the charge roof here. So I'm definitely going to shield this up. Sky Attack, honestly, would pretty much KO us from that range. I'm expecting it's going to be a Skarmory in the back, and they... oh, sorry, not Skarmory, a Lantern in the back, and we go for the dig, hoping it's going to be another Pokemon weak to the ground typing in the back, but unfortunately, it's actually a Medicham, which isn't ideal, because Medicham does tank the Iron Head. It still does a lot of damage. If that was Annihilate, we possibly could have got the KO there, but Medicham just slightly too bulky. They're able to get a full counter farm down, go for a Psychic, taking out the Wugtrio, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see the opponent Safe swaps into Sableye, so a bit slow to swap out there. I'm going to come in with the Wugtrio. I'm not really expecting to win this matchup here, but what I am hoping to do is at least put them into farm down range for either of my Pokemon in the back. So going for the Surf. Surf should be grabbing a shield back from the opponent, and the opponent will still have to throw a charge move to get rid of us there. As you can see, the Water Gun damage alone has got them very low into the red health range, to the point where we can actually come in with the Shadow Alolan Dugtrio and get a full Scent Attack farm down. Now, with a slight energy advantage, this is actually a positive matchup for us up against the Shadow Swampert, as Mudshot's not doing too much damage. Mud Bomb would honestly do huge damage in that matchup. We swap into Giratina, and it's a Froslass in the back, so we do overfarm here, but then I realise we've probably put ourselves into range where 100 cannon will get the KO. So I'm actually just going to no shield here, let this move go through. The opponent full sends the Earthquake, which probably a little bit unnecessary there, but it doesn't really matter, as I'm able to make it to a Mod Bomb up against the Shadow Swampert, and Mod Bomb obviously takes out the Swampert from that range, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game we see Altaria in the lead, so obviously not a great lead. Gonna say swap into my Shadow Alolan Dugtrio, and we are going to be able to make it to an Iron Head, but you can see the Dragon Breath damage alone is seriously chunking. You can see my IVs are really bad. Honestly, I've got no clue why I TM'd this one to get rid of frustration. I do have a much better one, so yeah, genuinely don't know why I built this one. But either way, we got both shields, which is probably worse for us. At this point, I'm just going to fully sacrifice the Wugtrio. I'm just going to let the move go through here, and you're going to see a Sky Attack does huge damage, but then the opponent randomly gives up switch advantage there. Not really sure why they needed to do that, and then they just go for a Surf as well. So I'm definitely just going to no-shield the first move here. I'm then going to send a Shadow Ball, and depending on how much damage this does, I might end up shielding the next charge move here. We go for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is probably going to put them into Shadow Claw farm down range. So at this point, I'm definitely going to shield the next move here. They go for the Surf. We can go for a full Shadow Claw farm down, and we also have Dragon Pulse to throw if they come back in with the Altaria, but they don't. They come in with Registeel, and that's a massive mistake from me. I went like 2 over 100 energy there, which then means the opponent can now throw a charge move. What I was thinking was I always want enough energy to throw a Dragon Pulse immediately if the Altaria comes back in, which is what I do here, but unfortunately because they debuff me with the Zap Cannon, Dragon Pulse no longer enough damage to get the KO there, and a Moonblast will certainly take out the Giratina, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent, and very well played. Of course, swapping into Lantern didn't make much sense, but then coming in with the Registeel and basically just forcing us to throw our energy or use a shield was a very nice play. But in today's battle we see a Gallade, I believe that was in the lead. They're then going to swap into Goodra eventually. We chip with the Shadow Ball, which honestly I was expecting the opponent to shield that, but they end up shielding, which probably is okay for us as we will go for a full farm down. We can now go for a Mud Bomb and instantly grab a shield back from the opponent, but honestly our Giratina is fairly low already to the point where even a Leaf Blade might threaten to KO. Leaf Blade definitely takes out the Dugtrio there, as we are so glassy. We are now going to wait out the switch clock here and then come in with the Giratina. The opponent is choosing to stay in. I'm just going to no shield, but honestly this is probably an indication that the opponent is weak to the Giratina in the back, and there it is. It's a Cresselia in the back. We're going straight for the Shadow Ball, and the opponent no shields. They don't put any respect on Giratina's name, and now at this point I'm thinking I can shield this up and hopefully just go for a full Water Gun farm down. Can we get the farm down? Yes, we're able to do so, and that's going to be game over. We can just Water Gun, farm down the Gallade. I think they had another Leaf Blade loaded, but it didn't matter. They needed 2 charge moves to take out both the Wugtrio and the Giratina, and they're not able to get there. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game we see Shadow Magnezone in the lead, and we're just going straight for the Shadow Ball, of course, and the opponent expects a bait there, so they no shield and realize straight away that this is probably going to be the Yonkers team with Mantine and Annihilape in the back. So what I'm trying to do here is bait out the Annihilape. We're going to swap into Wugtrio. Unfortunately the opponent does bait with an Aerial Ace, which isn't ideal. I was hoping to bait out the Wugtrio here, or sorry, the Annihilape here, but the opponent just going to go for another Aerial Ace. And we're going to wait out our switch lock. Of course, we are still switch locked. The opponent isn't switch locked. We come in with the Dugtrio, waiting for the Annihilape to come in. I'm still just not going to shield. I realize Giratina is my win condition. They go for the Aerial Ace, and they finally swap into Annihilape. We're going for the Iron Head. Iron Head going to do big damage. We swap back into the Giratina, and again, we are just barely not able to get the farm down there. We needed that farm down, and now, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to outpace the opponent to 3 charge moves here, especially since we're not running Ominous Wind. Going for the first Shadow Ball, grabbing the first shield here. I was hoping honestly that they might let the first one go through, but they're low enough where Ominous Wind would pretty much take them out anyway, so yeah, they're definitely just going to shield everything. They go for an Aerial Ace, grabbing the final shield, and they are able to outpace me to the next Aerial Ace, but it depends how much they have overfarmed in that matchup. We come in with the Dugtrio, and unfortunately, perfect overfarm by the opponent as they just narrowly outpace me to an Aerial Ace once again, and Aerial Ace eventually will get the KO up against my Alolan Dugtrio, although actually, I just got stuck in an endless cycle where they just continue to Aerial Ace me over and over again, and you can see in my journal, it turns out I lost this rain like infinite amounts of times here, all in the same minute, which I don't know what was going on there. But anyways, GG's to that opponent. Hopefully they did get credited with a win. Of course, we see a lot where, you know, you get random lag right at the end of the battle, and from the opponent's perspective there, if they saw that, they might think I'm trying to do something dodgy, but I can guarantee you it wasn't me doing that. It was just, I don't know what was going on in all honesty. But anyways, once again, again, not having a bait move on Giratina works out perfectly as we full send the Shadow Ball, getting the one shot, and look at the water gun damage. We get this Raichu very low already. We're now going to come in with the Giratina. We should resist everything they can possibly throw, so I'm definitely going to no-shield the first charge move here as the opponent is going to go for a Brick Break, debuffing my defense, and that means Wild Charge probably will now get a KO. So since I'm running Dragon Pulse, I'm actually going to shield that up there, and then I will be able to get off a Dragon Pulse up against the Umbreon coming back in. The opponent probably not going to shield this up, as Dragon Pulse is very uncommon for Giratina Origin form. Now at this point, as long as they're not running Dark Pulse, I think I should live one foul play. Dark Pulse honestly probably puts me into Snarl farm down range, but it is foul play, so we're going to go straight for the Mud Bomb here. Mud Bomb does big damage to the Umbreon. That's probably the most damage you've ever seen a Mud Bomb do up against Umbreon. The opponent recognizing foul play wouldn't get a KO, so they just concede the match there. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, we see Dedenne in the lead. Now, I see this as kind of a neutral lead. I didn't know who would win CMP. It turns out it's Dedenne, so definitely probably should have not have thrown that Shadow Ball straight away. But either way, we do throw it, so we're just going to full send it now. And the opponent lets that go through, then swap into Mandibuzz. I'm going to stay in because once again, they're probably not expecting Dragon Pulse from the Giratina. So, going to no-shield. Dark Pulse doesn't quite take us out there. We can now go for the Dragon Pulse, and then I will swap into my Wugtrio. Probably a little bit questionable here, but of course the water gun damage is going to add up over time. And Dugtrio might not have too much play since, of course, they had Dedenne in the lead. They probably got two decent answers to it in the back. But anyways, we go for a Surf, grabbing a shield from the Mandibuzz. They are going to overfarm quite a lot, which is nice play from the opponent. We're going to no-shield, of course. Aerial Ace will be taking us out. I think they are already at another charge move. So I'm going to come in with my Dugtrio. I'm going to hope to try and make a catch here, but the opponent is going to throw pretty much straight away. So we're going to shield this up. The opponent goes for a Dark Pulse, and then they swap into a Shadow Weavile. So obviously, Mandibuzz not super spicy, but the rest of the team very spicy. We go for the Mud Bomb. We try to make the catch straight away, but the opponent very disciplined. They hold on to the energy. They can now full send an Avalanche, and Avalanche easily one-shots the Dugtrio, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, very good lead matchup for us as we see a Registeel. Now, of course, in the Open Ultra League, you're probably more used to seeing this matchup, although with the Giratina Altered form. But Giratina Origin form does big damage with the Shadow Balls. Unless they're running Flash Cannon, we do resist everything they can throw, and they also don't get a debuff, which is very nice for us. I'm now going to overfarm just slightly. We can't overfarm too much in this matchup, but Shadow Ball is actually going to grab a shield from the Registeel. They then bank the energy and swap into a Shadow for Alligator. So we're going straight for the Shadow Ball, and then I will actually swap into my Shadow Alolan Dugtrio, of course. A ground type, especially a very glassy one, into water isn't great most of the time, but when we've got a 2-0 shield advantage, this is a good matchup for us. We can go straight for the Mud Bomb here. Mud Bomb easily gets the KO. And if the opponent comes back in with the Registeel, I'm going to call that as probably a Lantern in the back. So I'm actually going to shield this up. They go for the Focus Blast, and it's not a Lantern, it's actually Cresselia. Now, this is looking a little bit scary for us, but if we do make a catch, or if we're able to manage our energy fine, then we should be okay. I'm actually just going to swap into Giratina. We don't make the catch, but the opponent still has to throw a charge move to get rid of us there, and hopefully now we can make it to a Mud Bomb on the Dugtrio, and if not, the opponent will be throwing straight away. So hopefully that will allow us to make it to a Surf on the Wugtrio, but it doesn't matter in the end. Mud Bomb will be coming through, taking out Cresselia, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent, and now into the battles with the regular Dugtrio, and this is the main reason why I swapped out for the Shadow Dugtrio, or the Shadow Alolan Dugtrio, just because here you're going to see we're not even going to make it to 2 Mud Bombs. They get a full Dragon Breath farm down, although with the bad IVs on my Alolan Shadow Dugtrio, the exact same thing happened anyway, so it didn't make much of a difference. But either way, we come back in with the Giratina, just because this energy is going to go to waste, and I saw a lot of Shadow Dragonair users going Body Slam first, maybe not realizing that Body Slam is double resisted by the Ghost typing. I don't really know, can't really say for sure, but either way, we go for the Shadow Ball, taking out the Dragonair. We're now going to swap into the Wugtrio, and they've got a Vigoroth in the back, so hopefully it's going to be a Skarmory in the back and not a Lantern, but it is the Lantern, so honestly, not a lot we can do here. I'm going to full send the dig just for the sake of it. The opponent uses their shield, so at this point it is game over. They can very easily Spark Farm down the rest of my team, and we do end up losing that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game we see Skeledirge in the lead. So of course a pretty decent lead matchup and very good for my entire team. But then they swap into Miltank, which I haven't seen honestly in a very long time. Now if I was running the Shadow Alolan Dugtrio, this would be a very good matchup for us. Of course, double resisting the rollouts and resisting both Body Slam and potentially double resisting Thunderbolt. They might be running Ice Beam as well, I don't actually know. But either way, the opponent can now take us out with 2 Body Slams. Since this is just the Kanto version, we're going to go for the Mud Bomb here. Mud Bomb is going to grab a shield back from the opponent, and at this point I'm actually going to double shield my Dugtrio, but I've got to be very careful here. I do need to overfarm in this matchup, but the opponent actually swapped into Victreebel, so I end up just kind of panicking, going for a Stone Edge, a bit unnecessary. I probably could have just swapped back into my Giratina without throwing a move at all, but they come back in with the Miltank, and maybe the opponent doesn't know about the Dragon Pulse coverage that I'm running, but they do end up shielding anyways. Honestly, from that range, Shadow Ball might have KO'd anyways, maybe not, probably not actually, but either way, they end up shielding, and what I don't want to do is give Skeledirge any energy advantage, so I actually let the opponent take me out there. We can now come in with the Wugtrio, get the Water Gun farm down, and that's going to be game over. The opponent recognizes it instantly, and they concede the match. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game we see Azumarill in the lead once again. So once again, fairly neutral lead matchup here. Gonna go for a Shadow Ball straight away. I realized sort of after this that I probably shouldn't throw straight away because now they're gonna try and throw it on good timing, and what that does mean is this could be a play rough. It ends up being the play rough anyway, so it doesn't really matter there. But they then could have obviously baited with an Ice Beam at that point, but it had enough energy for that play rough. But either way, we go for the Shadow Ball, and at this point I'm just going to possibly let the Giratina go down. Play rough will be taking us out, but hopefully they're in range where we can Water Gun, farm them down, and we are able to get the farm down there, which is very nice. But they've got Altaria in the back and Whiscash, so honestly this looks like it's game over. Not a lot we can do really, but I'm gonna play it out anyways. We go for the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb does about half their health there, which is actually very nice. I'm gonna shield this up here, and the opponent's actually gonna bait with a Mud Bomb, which I wasn't expecting, and then they go for another Mud Bomb, so possibly running Blizzard as a secondary charge move. Otherwise I don't really know why they wouldn't just go for Scald, but either way I'm going to overfarm as much as I possibly can, go for a Mud Bomb, and we also got a Stone Edge coming out, so hopefully the opponent doesn't respect the damage. But they do end up shielding, and this is definitely game over. Nothing we can do can even touch the Altaria there with the Wugtrio, so we just concede the match there. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game we see Lantern in the lead, and this was one of the first battles I did with this team, and I am still running the Ominous Wind instead of Dragon Pulse. We're going to go for the Ominous Wind up against Trevenant, and it's actually very handy to have Ominous Wind in this matchup because we can at least pace to the same charge moves at the same pacing as the opponent there, as we go for an Ominous Wind as the opponent is just about to reach a Seed Bomb, and the opponent is going to no shield, and then they come in with Bastiodon. So I think this is probably a little bit questionable here. I don't know why I come in with the Wugtrio because the opponent is eventually going to swap out into Lantern and get a full farm down, but either way we grab a shield, the final shield from the opponent, and now I'm just going to come back in with my Giratina. Giratina of course is going to need the opponent to throw a charge move to take us out here. They can't Spark Farm us down, and they know that, so they are going to throw a charge move. But hopefully, with just a small overfarm from the opponent, we should be able to make it to a Mud Bomb very comfortably before they do make it to 2 more Surfs. They go for the first Surf. I'm just going to build to the back-to-back Mud Bombs. That way, if the first one doesn't quite get the KO, I will just throw the next one straight away. But Mud Bomb does get the KO. They come back in with the Bastiodon and a Mud Bomb. Double super effective damage. Actually doesn't quite get the KO there, which is quite surprising, but that's fine. I will live a Flamethrower. They actually go for Stone Edge for some reason. Doesn't really make a difference there. We would have lived a Flamethrower anyways, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game we see Lantern in the lead. The opponent's going to say swap into Umbreon, so I'm actually just going to respond with my Wugtrio, just realizing that of course it's going to have the worst matchup up against the Lantern. So even if we do lose switch advantage, which looks very likely given that Wugtrio has basically been nuked by a Foul Play or Dark Pulse, I can't remember which one it was they threw. But yeah, we're going to go for a Surf here. Surf is actually going to grab both shields from the opponent, so instantly I recognize if they're double shielding their Umbreon, they clearly have another really good response to my Giratina in the back, so that's not great. I'm going to no shield the first move. They go for Foul Play there, and I'm going to have to shield the next one here as the opponent is loaded on energy. They go for Foul Play number 2, and they've got a Mandibuzz in the back, so honestly, not great, especially when I don't even throw on good timing. I throw like an absolute potato, as Jamie Finn would say, on alignment there. And now we're not going to be able to make it to another charge move in time. They actually full send a Dark Pulse, which is very unnecessary, but they're still able to make it to an Aerial Ace, or sorry, we're still unable to make it to a Stone Edge before they make it to the Aerial Ace. I think, honestly, they probably just went for the Dark Pulse there in case we tried to make a catch onto our Giratina, which probably is a smart play from the opponent, but either way, we're not running the Dragon Pulse in this match, so Dark Pulse does big damage. We weren't able to get rid of the Mandibuzz in time, and this Umbreon can also make it to another foul play, taking out the Giratina, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. So there you can see Giratina up against a double Dark team, especially with being handicapped by running Dugtrio and Wugtrio together, is definitely going to struggle with just a pure Ghost moveset. But into the next battle, we're going to see, unfortunately, another Bastiodon Shadow Vic team, and we're going straight for the Stone Edge. The opponent does shield, and at this point, we could shield and get off a Mud Bomb. I don't think it would quite take them out there, so I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to let that go through. And then I'm going to come back in with my Giratina. Of course, we do have some residual energy. I'm hoping, actually, never mind. I thought Ominous Wind probably wouldn't quite get the KO here, so we go for the Shadow Ball, getting the knockout, and they've got Wigglytuff in the back. So this is certainly game over, unless somehow I grab a shield in this matchup, but very unlikely. Shadow Ball does such little damage to the Wigglytuff. We've got 2 shields, but we're not going to be able to do anything with them. So at this point, I'm just going to no shield. Icy Wind does a lot of damage. They can just charm farm me down there, and we do end up losing that game. But GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, we see Shadow Gligar in the lead. So a much more, well, less hostile, less toxic lead Pokemon here for us to face. Gonna let the Aerial Ace go through. Honestly, don't really know why they don't farm up to a dig there. I'm never going to shield an Aerial Ace, but we can now go for the Shadow Ball, as Shadow Ball does grab a shield from the opponent. At this point, we're quite low, so I realize if I do shield this up, they can just wing attack farm me down. So maybe that is the benefit of going for the Aerial Ace straight away, knowing that I would no shield. But either way, we're going to come in with the Wugtrio, go for the Water Gun farm down. Unfortunately, they do make it to another Aerial Ace, as they did over farm, and then they come in with Lantern. So we're going straight for the dig. This is going to do huge, super effective damage. We then swap into our Dugtrio, and the opponent's got a Registeel in the back, and this is perfect for us. And at this point, we can just go straight for the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb, of course, going to do big damage in this matchup. I think the opponent has just rage quit the app here, as Mud Bomb does connect. They're not attacking anymore, and I'm just going to cut this because, of course, you don't need to see it, but I just went for a full Mud Shot farm down there, and I'm able to take that game. Alright, so going into the final battle of this video, we lead into yet another Lantern. So Lantern, very common in the lead, it seems. They're going to say swap into a Shadow Skarmory. Now, this should be a very positive matchup for us. We are resisting the Steel Wing damage, but look at the damage we have already taken from Steel Wings. We are just barely outpaced them for fast move damage here, and you're going to see that's only because we swapped out like 2 fast moves after they swapped out. So here, we're going to shield this up. I'm thinking I should be able to go for a full Water Gun farm down, but look, it's not going to happen, so I have to throw my charge move here. Honestly, I probably would prefer if they shield, but the opponent no shields. Not ideal for me. They then come in with the Lantern. We're going to come in with the Giratina, and they're actually choosing to stay in with the Lantern, so that's not too bad for me. Kind of just depends what they've got in the back. We're going to go for the Shadow Ball. The opponent no shields that, so I'm definitely just going to stay in with my Giratina here. They go for a Thunderbolt, which of course, if we were able to catch that on the Dugtrio, would have been absolutely amazing, but it was not the case. So we're going to go for a Ominous Wind on the CMP tie. The opponent lets that go through, and they've got a Victory Belt in the back, so not ideal for us. We're going to go for the Ominous Wind. I'm then going to overfarm here, and then try and catch the charge move. We're able to catch it. Hopefully this does just one-shot the Dugtrio, and it does get the KO. I'm barely able to make it to an Ominous Wind, but does this knock out the Victory Bell? No, they live with 1 HP and a Dream, and we're also on 1 HP, but they're at a charge move. Leaf Blade takes out the Giratina, and unfortunately we do lose that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.